So I've just reported on the pogrom that took place in Anne Frank City, Amsterdam, not in the 1940s, yesterday. Jews hunted down, thrown into rivers, train tracks, rammed by cars, stabbed. It looks like it was also premeditated, which is in some ways one of the most disturbing things about this story. Now, the question that we're also looking at is the reaction. What's the reaction been? Well, I'm sure I've had messages from people that watch JTV saying they're horrified, they live in Amsterdam, they're horrified by what's happened, that many people throughout Europe support Israel. The leadership in the Amsterdam have obviously condemned this. But the question is, are they going to do anything about it? And also, how do people who are attacking Israel and sympathetic to the Palestinian side react to this? Will they say, no, hunting down Israelis and Jews is unacceptable. We don't like the government, but to go after individuals, women, children, by the way. Looks like there's also a hostage situation. We would have thought that would happen. Well, it turns out that already we're seeing the same thing that happened in the aftermath of October 7th, when on the same day you had the anti-Israel mobs, the critiques, the people who saying they're just criticizing Israel, going out onto the streets, celebrating, justifying the targeting of Jews, hunting down of Jews. This is Jake Wallace-Simons, the editor of the JC, the Jewish Chronicle in the UK, showing a post by Afiv Akrabawi, who is clearly anti-Israel. Look at what he says. Tonight's vigilante attack on Israeli soccer fans in Amsterdam reflects the rage provoked by Israel's unaccountable war crimes and the manipulation of Jewish symbols like the Star of David to incite and justify genocide. Zionism is the most dangerous form of anti-Semitism. With Netanyahu and the colonial project of Israel posing the greatest threat to the Jewish people since Hitler. So what he's basically saying is that the attack on Israelis, on Jews, is because of what Israel is doing to the Palestinians. But because individual Israelis and Jews, logically cannot be collectively accountable for the actions of Israel, just as you wouldn't hold all Russians accountable for the actions of Putin. And by the way, I'm not comparing Putin and Netanyahu. What Israel's doing is absolutely defensible and justified, and he's protecting himself. But he's literally proving in his statement that this is not about his hostility towards the Israeli government. Because he's justifying, he's saying, let's look at the language, it reflects the rage provoked by Israel's unaccountable war. And he's saying it's creating a dangerous form of anti-Semitism. So he's saying that Zionism is the most dangerous form of anti-Semitism. So he's actually saying that the rage directed at Jews is because of the Israeli government, therefore proving that it was not actually about hatred towards the Israeli government. This is David Collier, because we're seeing, okay, there are individuals and the anti-Israel mob and the anti-Israel critics who are out there, and they're saying, they're justifying it, they're excusing it, celebrating what happened. But what about the media? David Collier, he's the investigative journalist, award-winning investigative journalist, has now cited the BBC. Says they're doing what they always do, blaming the Jews. With footage everywhere showing innocent people chased, mowed down and beaten up, they had to find someone who would blame the Jews. And they did. Some random anti-Israel guy called Connor Dalton. Worse still, the journalist behind this update is Victoria Park-Froeld, who is actually part of the BBC Verify team, the flagship BBC News entity. But she verifies nothing, going against ample evidence, and simply took the opportunity to share idle speculation, fake news, and tries to blame the victim. An inexcusable, rancid bunch of hacks these journalists are. This is what she said. I've spoken to a fan who went to the match last night who reports seeing Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters on the Amsterdam metro going up and down the carriages 3 or 4 times looking for a fight. Connor Dalton tells me, I felt worried. Everyone was going to the city, so everyone knew what was going to happen. He adds that he is shocked by the portrayal of the incident in the media, as in that the attacks were completely provoked and Palestinian flags were torn down the night before. This is so disgraceful. What they're doing is they're trying to create moral equivalence. Well, Israelis did this, so of course they're going to attack Jews. It's the oldest trick in the book, but now we're just seeing how open they are about it. We know that it's looking like this was actually planned in advance. So to say that it was down to some provocation is a lie, if that's the case. But secondly, even if let's just say that you had Israelis, some people were tearing down a Palestinian flag. So that would therefore mean that because they tear down a flag of a country they're hostile to, that justifies going after Israeli and Jewish men, women and children and attacking them. Let's understand that this flag has only ever represented a desire to kill Jews, the Palestinian flag. The Jewish people have faced the worst massacre carried out since the Holocaust under that banner, that flag. It has never been about genuine desire for statehood and national self-determination, having a state and human rights, because if it was, this would have been solved a century ago. There's been so many opportunities for them to have a state. They've clearly shown they don't want it, because they never cared about it, having a state, when Egypt and Jordan control parts of the territory they consider Palestine. They never upset with the Egyptians or the Jordanians. Had the Arabs won in 1948, there would never be a Palestinian state. Jordan would have a chunk, Egypt would have a chunk, Lebanon would have a chunk. No Palestinian state. They've been offered one time and time again, and they've said no. Their only interest, they wouldn't care if they're controlled by some foreign Arab entity or Islamic entity. What they care about is the Jews being their equals. They can't have that, Jewish sovereignty in their land. And it's disgraceful. And this was the big question, was how are the elites, the media, the politicians going to react to all of this? Dutch-born captain of Morocco's national football team and former Chelsea FC star Hakim Ziyech is using his social media accounts to cheer on the anti-Semitic violence against Jews in Amsterdam. Most of the attackers, it seems, according to Visgrad, are Moroccans. Look, he said, if it's not women and children, then they run away. Still free Palestina. They're telling us, the anti-Israel mob are telling us in clear, unavoidable terms that this is about the Jews. It's just so obvious. And we're seeing, again, I mean, how many times can the same thing happen before we start to wake up and realize that certain things aren't going to change? The only way that we can really move forward is if Europe gets a grip. So we're seeing that the media, some politicians, police clearly weren't getting a grip in time. We're seeing, let's not forget, the Netherlands is the heart of the ICJ, the ICC. That's where it's happened. You can't ignore the fact that this is the heart of the anti-Israel sentiment in Europe in some ways, the Netherlands. The question is, will the masses wake up? Because we've seen that from these examples, the anti-Israel critics, the mob, and elite institutions are not going to wake up. So the question is, will the masses wake up? We're seeing examples in recent years of there being a deep divide between what the masses feel and what the elites feel. And maybe, just maybe, the masses in Europe will wake up and cause enough of a stir to cause real lasting political change that can see an end to this. It's very hard to predict what's going to happen. And in some ways, that should be a cause for encouraging all of us to stand up, because maybe we can all affect what happens. So stand up, share this video, expose the hypocrisy and the evil that is the anti-Israel cause. And let's all do our part in speaking the truth. If you've made it so far in this video, I have a request for you. JTV has been having a really big impact in spreading the truth about Israel and creating positive associations with the Jewish people, Judaism, and Israel. We've really grown a lot, particularly in the last year, and we're having a really significant impact, both for Jews and non-Jews. But I really want to take JTV to the next level so we can start to compete with the other big online media beasts that are often peddling anti-Israel content. And the way we're going to do that is to scale even faster. So I'd love to build a team where we have other presenters doing shows like me, that start doing documentaries, supplementary content, animated content, etc., etc. And to do that, I'd like to build a bit of a team. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one fundraising day, just one, where we try and build up some funding in order to fund such a team. Now, to do that, it's going to obviously require people to get involved. And I'm wondering if you would consider, if you're watching JTV content and appreciate what we do and want to help partner with us in taking this to the next level and spreading the truth farther and wider than ever before, I wonder if you'd consider partnering with us simply by running a mini page on the fundraiser that we do, where you just reach out to your contacts on that day that we choose to fundraise and see if they'll all chip in. If you'd be up for doing that, of which I would be so grateful, then please click on the Google form link in the video description of this video, where you can simply just put in a few contact details. It'll be a very small commitment, as I say, literally just one day that we'll all agree upon as a collective community. But the impact is going to be so big. There's such strength in numbers. If we all pull together and do this, we can take this to the next level. And as I say, all of us can partner together in bringing and spreading the truth to the whole world. So please do consider clicking on that link, filling in the form, and I'll be in touch very soon to talk about the next steps. Small commitment, but a big impact. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.